We'll begin TVC News at 10 with a warning from the Independent National Electoral Commission urging Nigerians not to fall victims to fake website advertising voter registration. This warning is contained in a statement signed by National Commissioner Festus Okoye, who says it has concluded its continuous voter registration exercise for the 2023 general elections. This is happening barely 24 hours after the suspension of voter registration by the electoral body. Mr. Okoye states unequivocally that the site is not linked to the commission and the link a portal is spurious and from a dubious source. He calls on members of the public not to succumb to the antics of online scammers and to avoid such fake sites. In the meantime, a coalition of civil society organizations has flagged off a sensitization campaign on voter education and civic participation. The campaign hopes to educate and mobilize citizens to pick interest in performing their civic duties ahead of the 2023 general elections. Diaspora reports.
6 months to Nigeria's highly anticipated 2023 general elections. The pressure is getting more intense as the Independent National Electoral Commission records about 20 million newly registered voters. This increase in voter registration has given rise to calls for citizens to be more aware of their voting rights and the importance of voting their conscience. In Abuja, a group of civil society organizations have unveiled a sensitization campaign they call Value Your Vote. The campaign is to raise the participation of youths, women, and persons with disabilities, as well as increase voters' understanding of key election information ahead of the general elections.
Politicians are definitely going to come and ask you to buy your votes, and that is because your votes are valuable and because your votes actually do count. My appeal to you is do not sell your vote.
The leadership recruitment process is something that the people need to understand very well how to go about it, and it's something that you should value as we are going to the polls. Now the politicians have weaponized poverty and ignorance to the point that Nigerians go to the poll and they follow the sheepish romanticizing of people's emotion by the political class to vote wrongly over time.
This campaign is significant to me because it is a call to responsibility. It's a call to everyone seated here to take up the decision to be responsible, not just for you, but for everyone who is dependent on you.
Reports we received from INEC indicated that there are so many PVC cards are lying down in the offices uncollected. So there's no way you can vote except you come with your PVC card.
Registered voters have also been encouraged to ensure they collect their PVCs and choose leaders only based on credibility and competence. TVC News, Abuja.
So talking election matters, the Labour Party has disclosed that it will come up with its campaign team in the coming days. At the inaugural briefing of the support group, it identified that the tone and texture of campaign should not be one that is aggressive, but that speaks to contemporary realities. Habib Alawal reports.
With a few weeks to the formal takeoff of electioneering activities, the main contenders for the 2023 election are taking on different issues affecting the polity. Violent crimes, including terrorism, kidnapping and banditry, are on an upward swing. The Labour Party candidate support group Obedient Movement is having its maiden outing. At this inaugural press conference, it expresses confidence their candidates can salvage the expanding ungoverned space in Nigeria.
We want to present a message of hope to Nigerians that regardless of the hopelessness, there is a shining light at the end of the tunnel. If we can just hold on a little longer.
Obedient Movement is also not limited to Nigeria, as our diaspora community, consisting of some of the most brilliant brains, victims of what we call brain drain.
The vice presidential candidate of the party, Dati Baba Ahmed, has also confirmed that he does not have any presence on social media, neither does he pass any information on social media. Reacting to reports from social media handles, the Labour Party vice presidential candidate has disclaimed any presence whatsoever on the platform. He says the party will roll out its campaign team in few days.
What you see there are not me. Simple. And the questions are fairly related. Specifics. In the last 3 weeks, my honorable team tried to have one verified that has not yet been verified. So up till this moment, I do not have a verified social media. So for safety reasons, consider all of them as unauthentic and fake.
A lot of citizens are apprehensive about the challenges confronting the country and its implication on the nation's stability. As the 2023 election approaches, it is expected that political contenders need to factor in core issues in their campaign. To other observers, the war of words between major political candidates represent a fallout of a faulty political system in Nigeria. Habib Alawal, TVC News, Abuja.
Elsewhere, the federal government has described the hike in the price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, as illegal. Minister of State Petroleum Resources Timipri Silva spoke at a consultation forum on petroleum regulation in Abuja, where he claimed that the federal government has not regulated the commodity. He, however, assured Nigerians that the hike in petrol pump price will be looked into. Celestina Area reports.
Section 216 of the Petroleum Industry Act's mandates the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to consult with stakeholders prior to finalizing any amendment to regulations. These regulations are integral in ensuring the Petroleum Industry Act is fully operational and will enable investment and ease of doing business, create employment opportunities for Nigerians, and prevent undue burdens on industry players. Regulations being considered are Petroleum Transportation and Shipment Regulations, Assignment and Transfer of License and Permit Regulations, Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Operations Regulations, Petroleum Pipeline Regulations, Gas Price and Domestic Demand and Delivery Regulations, Natural Gas Pipeline Tariff Regulations, Midstream and Downstream Decommissioning and Abandonments Regulations, Environmental Regulations for Midstream and Downstream Operations, Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Funds Regulations, Environmental Remediations Fund Regulations.
Regulation is like policy. This is the policy of doing this. There are guidelines. You have to do this. Of course, as a regulator, we are here to enable investment. At the same time, we are like police. We have to be guided by the provision of either the policy or the regulation.
But what do these regulations mean to the layman on the streets, motorists, commuters, small, medium and large-scale business owners who rely on petroleum products, especially fuel, to operate and stay in business? In recent times, 4 accused have disappeared and reappeared in FCT and environs, and was also accompanied by a hike in pump price. A litre which sold for 165 naira now sells for 175 naira or 185 naira per litre. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Timipri Silva says the government did not increase the pump price of PMS.
Tell you authoritatively, we have not deregulated. The government is subsidizing. If there are increases in the price, it is not from the government. It's probably from the marketers. But of course, I will talk to the authority chief executive to ensure that they actually regulate the prices. But this is not from the government. We have not deregulated.
These regulations are the primary enablers of the federal government's Decade of Gas initiative and will help capitalize investment and enhance the attractiveness of the domestic gas value chain. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja.
The federal government has announced a ban on the importation of SIM cards into the country. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy Issa Pantami disclosed this earlier today in Lagos at the Nigerian Telecommunications Indigenous Content Expo, organized by the Nigeria Office for Developing Indigenous Telecom Sector of the Nigerian Communications Commission. The minister made it clear that the government would no longer tolerate the importation of SIM cards into the country. He stated that the nation is now producing SIM cards locally. According to him, the aim of the country is to increase indigenous content in the ICT sector so that by 2025, the nation will be self-reliant by at least 80%. Now to insecurity, where Nigerians now live in fear, anxiety, and uncertainty over the rising spate of attacks by terrorists in the country. With that in mind, a group is now calling for the immediate sack of the Defense Minister and the National Security Advisor. The message was delivered at a protest earlier today in Abuja. The Guardians of Democracy and Development Initiative says the rate at which innocent citizens are being killed by bandits is alarming. Joke Adisa has more.
Tension and anxiety are in the land. This is arising from the continued spike in insecurity, leading to indiscriminate killings of innocent persons. In the wake of the recent attack on an army checkpoint in Zuba, an outskirt of the nation's capital, the National Security Advisor Babagana Monguno admits Nigeria's insecurity is at its peak. This non-governmental group is adding its voice to the return of peace in Nigeria. Placard-carrying citizens stage a peaceful protest to drive home their demand for a peaceful Nigeria. Its leader says Nigerians are not only getting tired and gravitating towards self-help, they are suffocated and frustrated.
We are suffocated, frustrated, threatened, apprehensive, and completely uncertain about our safety and that of our loved ones here in Nigeria. Is that every time it's either the president accepts direct responsibility or these people that he has given this job to do, critical jobs that are not doing it, he can start by relieving these two critical offices, the NSA and the Minister of Defense.
The group insists Nigeria can only come out of its present woes if top security chiefs, including the Defense Minister and the NSA, are relieved of their positions. It says the recent revelation that 44 intelligence reports were issued before the Kuje attack lends credence to the need for heads to roll. The group calls on President Muhammadu Buhari to wield the big stick and whip those saddled with security responsibilities into line.
Who coordinate the intelligence from the security agencies and who process them and see to their implementation? See, the answer is the NSA. What is Major General Mogonu still doing there in the office of the National Security Advisor on the public space that remain unchallenged? That actually intelligence are being collected and forwarded, and the NSA refusing for whatever reason to act on them. And we have seen the consequences of ignoring such.
While it expressed its confidence in Mr. President's ability to rise to the occasion, the group urged its administration to prioritize the safety of lives and property as enshrined in the Constitution. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Not talking insecurity. Police in Delta State say they have killed one of the gunmen who attacked and killed 3 police personnel in Okpanam, Oshimile North local government area. The Commissioner of Police, Muhammad Ari, spoke while briefing journalists in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Ikenna Amechi reports.
For a week after the attack on police station in Okpanam and the killing of 3 officers, operatives have been on a manhunt for the perpetrators. Today, the Commissioner of Police is happy to say the efforts of the command has yielded positive results in the fight against criminality, as the patrol team in Ila Akukigbo Road successfully repelled an attack.
When the DPO Ila and his men were out on stop and search, and the sinister group came in and attacked them, but luck ran against them as they were repelled after a fierce gun battle. Our men were able to chase them, brought one of them down, and that happened to be the leader of the syndicate.
The police boss is quick to unveil the identity of the group he suspects to be responsible for the attacks and confirmed that the families of the 3 slain police officers will be adequately compensated.
When you take a cursory look on that body, you will see charm tied to his waist. That tells you that it's a symbol of a suspected member of an IPOB.
On the back of this police van is the body of the slain gunman and the recovered AK-47 rifle, ammunition and a machete. The police have intensified a manhunt for the fleeing members of the gang. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba.
Away from that, civil society organizations are calling on the federal government to become advocates of breastfeeding and support mothers to practice optimal breastfeeding for the good of the nation. This was disclosed at the flag-off ceremony to commemorate World Breastfeeding Week in Abuja. Maria Mohammed reports.
Every year, the World Breastfeeding Day is observed from 1st to 7th of August to celebrate mothers and babies and globally encourage breastfeeding. This year's theme is Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support. In Nigeria, breastfeeding is well practiced, with almost all babies breastfed at a point. A report by National Demographic and Health Survey in 2018 shows that only 29% of Nigerian children are exclusively breastfed, with the remaining 71% lacking essential nutrients and antibodies. It is to protect them from childhood diseases and death, as they are not being exclusively breastfed. At the ceremony, the Minister of State Health explained that the ministry remains committed to eradicating malnutrition from the country and improving breastfeeding in achieving this. He also explained that the ministry's aim is to reach 2025 World Health Assembly target of raising the rate of exclusive breastfeeding to at least 50%.
The Federal Ministry of Health remains committed to eradicating malnutrition from the country, and improving our breastfeeding rates is a cost-effective means towards achieving this.
CSOs and relevant stakeholders charge every sector in society to ensure breastfeeding-friendly environment, as everyone has a role to play.
The policymakers, that is the parliament, the ministry, about enacting enabling laws that will promote maternity leave. Only very few states in Nigeria currently recognizes 6-month maternity.
It's important that we know that all is not well with breastfeeding in Nigeria yet. I say that because if we make recommendations of breastfeeding and the duration, we talk about moving into 24 months and beyond.
We must adequately support our women to breastfeed so that we'll be able to reap the manifold benefits of breastfeeding.
Nigerians are encouraged to collaborate with the federal government to increase the rates of breastfeeding across the country. Maria Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.
In Osun State, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria has appealed to Nigerian universities not to hesitate to assess and admit medical students whose academic activities have been affected by the ongoing war in Ukraine. Registrar of the Council, Dr. Tajuddin Sanusi, who was speaking at the 7th induction ceremony of medical graduates in Iwo, also called for the restructuring of teaching hospitals in the country. Rafiu Hamid reports.
Nigerians, particularly medical students studying in Ukraine, are back home as a result of the ongoing war in the country. In order to ensure that they fulfill their dreams, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria has now promised to assist them. At the induction of these medical graduates in Iwo, the Registrar, Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, Dr. Tajuddin Sanusi, tasked universities in the country to admit them after necessary assessments.
There is a war going on in Ukraine. A lot of Nigerian students are coming back home. Please, if they apply, don't hesitate to assess them and determine the levels you think they should be. MDCN will give you the necessary support. They are our children. We cannot throw them away.
He speaks on plans to ensure easy placement of doctors for housemanship, tasked them on teamwork, and warned against professional misconduct.
If you are found to constitute danger to public health, you are suspended immediately.
A lecture on the topic, Making Global Impact in Medical Profession and Life, was delivered by a consultant chest physician at the Obafemi University, Professor Gregory Irabo.
They should not complain about the circumstances around them. They should not complain about the situations around them. They should not complain about the national or international climate in which they are working. But they should believe in themselves, they should believe in God, they should believe in their future.
The graduates were also urged not to compromise their roles.
Your role as a medical practitioner is very crucial to humanity. So you must not forget that. You should never compromise that very important role and rule. You should always remember your oath.
Do not betray the confidence reposed in you by other physicians, and maintain due respect for your teachers and other colleagues.
Then follows the oath taking.
I shall exercise the several
Goodwill messages were also delivered. The graduates recorded 100% pass rates. Outstanding ones among them were presented with prizes. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Iwo, Osun State.
The Population Advisory Group has held its first meeting following its inauguration in Abuja. The 15-member group is the outcome of the federal government's effort in implementing the revised National Policy on Population for Sustainable Development. Sifon Isien has details.
The National Policy on Population for Sustainable Development was launched on February 3rd by President Buhari. It outlines the strategy for managing the challenges posed by rapid population growth. This includes informing stakeholders about the link between population and development issues such as agriculture, education, the economy, and security. At this ceremony in Abuja, a 15-member Population Advisory Group is inaugurated.
Constituting the membership took cognizance of geopolitical spread and gender balance. The population technical group, like I said, is going to be chaired by my humble self.
The mandate of the advisory group is to aid the implementation of the National Policy on Population for Sustainable Development.
On how the National Population Project should be driven or conducted. The members of the PHE feel privileged to be able to bring their specialist knowledge, diverse experiences, and varied perspectives to the service of the Commission, and to advise it on best practices and practical ways in which matters related to sustainable development can be mainstreamed into the Commission's activities.
The goal of the National Policy on Population for Sustainable Development is to bring about improved quality of life and standard of living. Sifon Isien, TVC News, Abuja.
Hello there, many thanks for staying with us on TVC News tonight. It's now time to bring you the latest from the world of business. We now start off with Nigeria's external reserves, which added $45.3 million in the month of July. Well, that's according to the latest report from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, the foreign exchange, as of the 28th of last month, moved to $39.2 billion from the $39.17 billion it had earlier commenced the month. Now, the Apex Bank also attributed a steady increase in external reserves to its RT$200 billion foreign exchange program, stressing that the policy unveiled earlier in the year in February has revived foreign exchange earnings from non-oil proceeds. Now, despite the increase in price of crude oil, Nigeria's external reserves have depreciated by $1.3 billion in 7 months of this year to hit $39.2 billion as of last month from the $40.5 billion it had earlier closed the year 2021. And now in this next report, the World Bank has partnered and financed 383 rural roads in Imo State. This was stated by the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, during a meeting with the World Bank delegation led by the country director Shubham Chaudhary in Abuja. This is not the only focus in the state, as they're also hoping to address problems of rural hygiene, sanitation and water deficiencies in the state's 27 local councils. Now, the World Bank says most of its initiatives in different states are meant to impact directly positively on the people at the grassroots level.
Some of these their programs is that its intention is to bring some fiscal discipline because of the kind of guidelines and the disability criteria they provide. What qualifies you to benefit from these programs is being addressed now by World Bank through their new MAP program. So, and our people are very excited and happy. So part of the reason for this meeting is to discuss and see more areas that can continue to help our state so we can survive the consequences of COVID-19 and the rampant banditry that followed immediately after that.
States that are the leaders in this, and so most of our support and financing actually goes down to the states. So I spend a lot of my time with executive governors such as His Excellency Senator Zudima, talking about all the programs that we're supporting, his programs that we're supporting in Imo State, and what are the issues, where are there challenges that we can help him overcome.
And now moving on to the power sector. In order to arrest cases of blowout in power installations and homes, public and private organizations, the Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency has pledged to enforce technical standards and regulations in the power sector. Addressing journalists at a stakeholders meeting put together by the agency in Lagos, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of NEMSA, Aliyotukar Tahir, explains that the mandate of NEMSA is very crucial to Nigeria's socio-economic development as power remains at the helm of industrial development in the country. He also notes that the hazards with the use of electricity must be well mitigated, hence the development of standards and regulations by NEMSA to ensure that those that work within the power sector value chain abide by the rules guiding the use and deployment of electricity in a safe manner.
Our mandate is very crucial in the country because it has to do with electricity. Electricity is a good servant, but a bad master. It's a good servant because we use it to do so many things in our houses, factories, because without electricity there is no development.
NEMSA is supposed to have area offices in the old 36 and federal capital. But as we talk, we have only 19 area offices. Therefore, we are working very hard round the clock to make sure that we are giving adequate provisions to be able to employ good hands, good engineers, professionals, to be able to carry out the function and the mandate of NEMSA.
We need to have an attitudinal change because our attitudes towards work, towards implementing, towards operating, towards regulating, towards policymakers need to be upgraded, to the standard of our international, expectation. So I think we need to improve on our attitudes.
And away from that report now, industry stakeholders in the market and communication space have urged practitioners to stimulate hard work, innovation and overall quality in marketing planning and execution in Nigeria. Addressing journalists at the inauguration of the Nigerian Marketing Awards in Lagos, the convener, Tony Agagmuman, also stated that the new award initiative is informed by the need to redefine how the hard-working marketing and highly professional marketing professionals should be celebrated. According to the former president of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, one of the measures put in place to ensure the credibility of the award is to seek the approval of relevant regulatory bodies in the industry and also enlist marketing communication practitioners with proven track records into the award selection panel. He however notes that the initiative would also recognize and reward activities that go above and beyond pushing the boundaries of marketing in all ramifications, while also encouraging creativity and innovation.
Globally, marketing awards are very powerful ways of celebrating the creativity and effectiveness of hard-working individuals and teams in marketing. They are designed to motivate and drive more business while celebrating great work. As marketing professionals, innovation is a key part of our responsibilities. What was great yesterday may not be good enough for today.
We would like to partner with the media. Obviously, awards, whether marketing awards, any form of award, thrives on media. So we will be inviting the media to really partner with us in creating this. This should be a content that every Nigerian professional will be proud of, a content that we will be able to show anywhere and hold our heads high.
Well, it's now time to bring you the latest from the Nigerian exchanges. The stock market resumed trading for the first week of the month of August, I beg your pardon, with lower prices as many investors stayed on sales windows. Efing Ecop has the reports in the markets.
Stock trading was down throughout the long hours of business following sales pressure mounted by investors. The depth of losses was huge as index dipped by 0.83%. Boa Cement and Access Corporation were heavily down following the effects of the negative trades. MC Nicole, Nimeth, International Breweries and Main Baker also lost price values at the close of business. The chart of gain has showed Keveton Aviation, Cotsville, Champion Breweries, Unity Bank and Japol Gold. Low trade volume of 176 million shares worth 2.27 billion naira were traded in market subsectors. And outside Nigeria, markets traded in mixed territories due to various conditions. It was negative in South Africa, where investors at the Johannesburg Exchange sold off huge volumes of government bonds and companies' equities. In Kenya, the Nairobi securities market closed in green. This followed strong bids for shares of banks and manufacturing companies. Finally, the stock market in Accra, Ghana closed downward following weak trades in market subsectors. Effiong Ecop TVC News, Lagos.
And shifting focus now to the international frontier markets, we're in a muddled mood today as disappointing Chinese economic data fed doubt Wall Street's rally could be sustained while the dollar slid on the yen as speculators were forced out of suddenly unprofitable short positions. Central banks focus on the still strong inflation momentum and tight labor markets rather than signals of slowing growth. This could upset markets' recent bad news is good news view. Now, the caution was evident as MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was nearly flat. Chinese blue chips edged up 0.4%, while Japan's Nikkei added 0.5%, and South Korea's Kospi held still. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures both eased up 0.4%. Now, the Euro Stoxx 50 futures lost 0.3%, as did London's FTSE futures. All U.S. corporate earnings have mostly beaten lowered forecast. Analysts of the Bank of America cautioned that only about 60% of the consumer discretionary sector had reported, and it was under the most pressure given inflation concerns for consumers. And wrapping up business news tonight, oil prices on the international market dropped today as weak manufacturing data from China and Japan for the month of July weighed on the outlook for demand, while investors also braced for this week's meeting of officials from OPEC and other top producers on supply adjustments. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price dip of 0.86% to sell at $97.77 per barrel. Brent crude now sells at about $103.70 per barrel, registering a downward price margin of 0.29%. Bonilite's performance is still in the red zone as well, trading at $118.10 per barrel, with a price decline of 3.25%. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $110.80 per barrel, recording a price surge of 2.53%.